The New Testament has 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Today, not only will we learn how to pronounce each of these names in Espanol, but we will also use each of these names in a sentence so that you can expand your Spanish vocabulary. Greetings, my amigos, and welcome to Misionali. My name is Roberto, and this is where we learn Spanish through the Bible. Now, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell, and share this video with others. So now, my amigos, let's begin. El Nuevo Testamento tiene 4 evangelios: Mateo, Marcos, Lucas, y Juan. Let's break this sentence down. El Nuevo Testamento means the New Testament. Now, notice that both Nuevo and Testamento both end in O. They are singular masculine words, so in order to agree in both gender and number, the definite article el is used. Again, el without an accent means the, and el with an accent means he or him. I'll continue to point out these masculine and feminine differences as we go along. For testamento, put the emphasis of pronunciation on the penultimate or second to last syllable. Testamento, testamento. Tiene is from the verb tener, which means to have. Now here it's in the third person singular, so it simply means has. Now make sure you put the emphasis of pronunciation on the first E, tiene, tiene. Now this is a very common verb used in everyday language, so I would highly recommend that you learn this one very well. Now I'll leave a couple of links down below to some of my favorite Spanish grammar websites so you can do some further practice. Cuatro evangelios means 4 Gospels. For evangelios, put the emphasis of pronunciation on the second E, evangelios. Evangelios. Now, as an extra note, in the word evangelios, the letter G has an H sound. In Spanish, when the letter G precedes the letters E and I, it has an H sound. For example, Génesis, gigante. So far then, our sentence is, El Nuevo Testamento tiene 4 evangelios. Easy, right? Let's move on to the names. First, we have Mateo. Put the emphasis on the second syllable, Mateo, Mateo. Next, we have Marcos. The emphasis here is on the first syllable, Marcos, Marcos. Third, we have Lucas. The emphasis is again on the first syllable, Lucas, Lucas. Finally, we have Juan. Now, notice that we only have one syllable here, so how would you know where to put the emphasis of pronunciation? Now, in Spanish, A, E, and O are considered strong vowels. I and U are considered weak vowels. So when you have a weak and a strong vowel that are next to each other, you need to emphasize the strong vowel. In this case, A is the strong vowel, so you pronounce it Juan. Now say it a little faster, Juan. To finish off, we have the letter Y. Now when it's by itself, it simply means and it's pronounced like the English double E, but a little quicker and sharper. E. Got it? Muy bien. So now, let's pronounce the entire sentence together. El Nuevo Testamento tiene 4 evangelios: Mateo, Marcos, Lucas, y Juan. Now, let's put each name in a sentence. Mateo es el primer evangelio. Es is the verb is, and it's in the singular because Mateo is singular. If the verb es was plural, it would be son. El primer means the first. Now notice that primer ends with the consonant R. So how would you know if it's a masculine word, a word that normally ends with O, or a feminine word, one that normally ends with the letter A? Our clue here is the very next word, evangelio. It ends with an O. And since primer is being used to describe it, then it is also masculine. Of course, there are always exceptions, but these clues will help you out when you read a sentence. And since primer and evangelio are both masculine and singular, then the definite article before them also has to agree in gender and number, which in this case is el. So now, let's put the whole sentence together. Mateo es el primer evangelio. Marcos es el evangelio más corto. Now you may be asking, Marcos ends with an S. Shouldn't the verb es be plural, son, instead of singular? Good catch, my amigo. Now, note that Marcos is a proper name and not a plural form of Marco, so the verb form stays in the singular. Now you're going to see the same thing in our next example with Lucas. Más corto literally means more short, but here the proper translation is shortest. Now in English, you'd say Mark is the shortest gospel, but in Spanish, you typically put the adjective after the noun. Also, notice that there's an accent over the letter A, but you may say, this word only has one syllable. Why the accent if there's only one way to pronounce it? Well, you're right. With or without an accent, the pronunciation is exactly the same. However, in Spanish, accents are sometimes used to change the meaning of a word. In this case, más with an accent means more. If you remove the accent, the pronunciation remains exactly the same. However, the word más now becomes the word but. Now, there are other words like this, and we will see these in future lessons. Our whole sentence then is, Marcos es el evangelio más corto. ¿Entienden? Do you understand? Muy bien. Lucas es el evangelio más largo. This is very similar to our previous example, but now más largo means more long or longest. So our sentence is, Lucas es el evangelio más largo. Finally, Juan es el último evangelio. Our only new word here is último, which means last. Now notice that there's an accent on the very first letter of the word. Whenever you see an accent in a word that has more than one syllable, that is where the emphasis of pronunciation needs to be placed. So we have último, último. Our sentence then is, Juan es el último evangelio. As a final exercise, let's repeat all of our sentences. El Nuevo Testamento tiene 4 evangelios: Mateo, Marcos, Lucas y Juan. Mateo es el primer evangelio. Marcos es el evangelio más corto. Lucas es el evangelio más largo. Juan es el último evangelio. Well, mis amigos, I hope you enjoyed our time together and that these exercises are helping your Spanish to improve. As always, thank you so much for your time, and Lord willing, I will see you in the next video.